My name is Rhea. I'm the Director of Health and Fitness at the Reh-Fit Center, and I just want to welcome everybody for coming tonight. I'm going to moderate the evening, so I'll be on to make sure things go okay. And Gord Fogg is going to help me. He's one of our fitness staff. He can wave. His mic is off, but maybe he can wave for me if you've got your camera on. Thanks, Gord. If there's any technical issues, I'm kind of relying on him, but I think we should be pretty good to go. Tonight we have Erin, Roach, and Jessica Van Loon. They are, Erin, you're both OTs? I have to just correct myself. Yes, they're both OTs, occupational therapists that work at Access Fort Garry. And we're really lucky to have them. They're going to do a presentation about coping with COVID, and I'll pass it on to them to continue. Did I go off? Oh, what happened?
We can still hear you.
Okay. I don't know. The screen did something weird.
Before we get going, though, I might just ask everyone as well to mute your mics, at least temporarily.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still hear someone has their mic on. I can hear a TV in the background. There we go. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll get started. So, hi everyone. Thank you for taking some time this evening to join Erin and I talking about how to cope with COVID. First off, we just want to thank Sue, Rhea, Gord, and the Reh-Fit team for inviting us to come and talk about this topic. Thank you. It's a really important topic right now, as many of you know, because COVID is impacting our daily lives significantly. Had a lot of challenges this past few months, and especially with winter coming up, we'll probably be faced with even more challenges. So it's a great time to kind of talk about things that we should be doing or can be doing to help our mental health right now. And some of you may already be doing some of these things, and some of you might not have heard of any of it. And that's okay, because we're all in this together and we're all new to this. No one's ever gone through a pandemic like this before. So it's just an opportunity to learn on what we can do for our mental health. So our objectives just for this presentation is just to briefly get to know us and the program that we work for. We're going to get into kind of what's been happening with COVID and really how to cope with COVID and the change we've been facing. And then we're going to dive into strategies for coping, talk about self-compassion, connecting with others, routine, importance of sleep, physical activity, nutrition. And then we'll end off with just discussing some community resources that you can connect with if you're wanting more support. Okay, so just to start, Rhea kindly introduced us, but I'll just give you a bit more information about myself, and Erin will introduce herself. So I'm Jessica. I'm one of the OTs, one of 3 OTs, occupational therapists on the My Health team. I've been working on the My Health team for about 4 years now. And we work with clients in the community and in their primary care settings, so in their doctor's clinics. And I have a special interest in geriatric care and frailty care. Erin, did you want to introduce yourself?
And I am Erin. And so I am also an OT on the same team as Jessica. And I have been fortunately able to work with this team for the last year. And I was specifically hired on for the focus on mental health with the aim to develop more psychoeducational groups to help people with their mental health in general. So that's my special interest. That's me.
Thanks, Erin. So just so you guys know, over the past few months, we've kind of been, our work has been all over the place too. So lately we've still been working and seeing clients. We work with people who are 18 to 100 years old. And especially the last few months, we've been really supporting people who are just struggling with their daily routines changing and life changing around COVID. So it's just good timing that we're doing a presentation like this, and we feel we're well suited for it. Okay, and just some information if you're wondering what is a My Health team. It's a program that's funded by Manitoba Health, and it's a partnership with the Regional Health Authority of Winnipeg, community partners, and doctors' clinics. So we work with doctors in the Fort Garry River Heights area specifically, and we see clients one-on-one, or we'll do group education. And then we also partner with community sites like the Reh-Fit, for example, to help support their staff and clients as well. So I'd encourage you next time you're at your doctor's office to check and see if maybe you're connected to a My Health team, because you might not realize it, and you might have access to other health professional support like OT, social work, dietitian, pharmacy, those sorts of allied health supports. Okay, so that's enough about us. Now we'll dive into why we're here to talk about how to cope with COVID. So more importantly than ever, it's so important to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health at this time. We've seen a lot of change and uncertainty over the last few months. You might be struggling with loneliness, financial issues, fearing the future, what might come. You might be feeling more anxious or depressed than normal. So it's more important than ever just to stay on top of your mental health and to make sure you're taking care of yourself. So today we're just going to talk about strategies that you can engage in to help support yourself. So just to start, we're going to just have a little conversation about loss, grief, and uncertainty. Because in this pandemic, we're experiencing a lot of change. And sometimes with a lot of change, we experience loss. And with loss, we experience grief. So this pandemic has raised a lot of uncertainty in all of us. There's lots of unanswered questions that we might have. We might not know what's coming. There's lots of unknowns. You might find yourself asking questions like, when is this pandemic going to be over? When are masks going to be not mandatory anymore? When can I see my family and friends? Lots of uncertainty, and that's normal. We're all experiencing that. So with loss, we can experience grief. So you'll see on this screen here lots of different ways that people can experience grief, because I think a lot of people, when they hear that word, they think about loss of a loved one, but there's also lots of other losses and griefs that someone could experience, such as job loss, financial insecurity, changes to your daily routine. You might find you're having relationship issues with loved ones or friends. You might be fearful of the future. You just might not really be feeling well. You might feel really tired. And then you might also have experienced grief or loss of a loved one due to COVID or just due to other issues in the pandemic, and you might not have been able to celebrate their life or mourn their life, which can just increase more unresolved feelings of grief. And when we think about what grief looks like, when you sit back and kind of think about maybe how you've been feeling over the past couple of months, you might think you might have been feeling sad or anxious. You might be feeling a bit depressed. You might feel shocked or just angry at what's happening. And it's really important just to remind ourselves that those are all very normal reactions, and that's a normal response to grief and to loss. And it's understandable you're feeling that way, and you're not alone. So what's been happening because of all this uncertainty, loss, and change is we've been all experiencing what we've been calling it, or you might have heard as COVID fatigue. It's a new term. Also COVID weary, pandemic stress, COVID tired. Those are all common terms that are going around right now. And it's just a feeling of being burnt out and exhausted, maybe being more irritable and short with other people. You maybe can't focus, or you might be having some brain fog. You might be withdrawing from opportunities to socialize with family or friends online, virtually, over the phone. You might not be taking care of yourself, not wanting to change in the morning, get yourself going, taking a shower or exercising anymore. We are all overwhelmed and exhausted with the amount of information we're constantly getting around COVID and the pandemic. So naturally, people will experience these sort of symptoms or feelings. Again, that's normal. These are just all things that come along with constant information from the media and from family, friends, the professionals that you're getting, and you might just be feeling really tired and fed up. So how do we manage our emotions due to all this? Like, what can we do? How can we cope? First of all, I just, again, want to reiterate that what you're feeling is normal, and it's okay to feel that way. We're all human. We all feel upset, and we're all feeling anxious or frustrated with the current situation. So just validate your feelings on that. Secondly, it's important that although we might not be able to control what's happening with COVID right now, and the spread of COVID, there are certain things we do have control over. So we're not completely powerless in this situation. We're trying to refocus, and the whole point of this conversation is to kind of get you to focus on things that you can control and you do have the power over. So starting with one of the things is just having control over washing your hands, for example, wearing a mask, staying up to date with reliable facts from the Government of Manitoba website, but not being overly consumed by it, because then that's not healthy coping either. And then now we're just going to go through some other options and strategies that you can engage in to that you have control over, essentially. So the first one that we often forget is self-compassion. And we're really good at making sure that we're being there for our family and our loved ones who are struggling, and we often forget about ourselves and how to take care of ourselves. So I mentioned earlier, it's really important to just acknowledge your feelings and validate how you're feeling. Like, are you feeling angry or frustrated one day? That's okay. Are you feeling anxious or upset or really nervous the other day? That's totally normal. It's important to sit in that too and just let yourself feel that way. Don't want to sit in it too long where it's impacting how you're functioning and feeling day to day, but it's normal feelings. So just validate that. We often are, I guess, a little bit meaner to ourselves than we are to other people. So just think about how you're talking to yourself and the language you're using, and making sure that you're not being too hard on yourself. So when you're saying something to yourself, would you say that to a friend or a family member who is in need? Often we are a lot kinder and we think more rationally when we're talking to our family and friends. And we want to make sure we're doing that for ourselves too. So make sure you're telling yourself you had a good day, or you're doing positive self-talk, like one day at a time, we're going to get through this, setting goals for yourself, making sure you're doing things that make you happy, because we can't take care of others if we can't take care of ourselves. So just make sure you're not putting yourself down, you're being kind, and you're putting your thoughts and feelings first. And I'm going to hand it over to Erin to chat about some other strategies.
Okay, so we'll jump into coping. We keep throwing that term around, so let's break it down a bit. Title of the presentation today: Coping with COVID. So what is coping? And that might mean something different to everyone. But if we look at the technical definition, coping with stress is the process by which a person consciously attempts to master, minimize, or tolerate stressors and problems in life. So coping usually refers to dealing with the stress that comes after a stressor is presented. And clearly the pandemic has presented us with a lot of stressors. And so how do we manage our feelings as a result of these stressors? How do we reduce those anxious feelings? How do we manage what's coming at us that's out of our control? We might categorize or label our coping strategies into two different categories: healthy versus unhealthy. I'll go into explaining exactly what the difference between the two is, and then maybe why it's important to identify the difference and be mindful of it. So if we talk about healthy coping, like every coping strategy we go to, healthy would be engaging in coping strategies that allow you relief from your stress that you're feeling, but they usually have an added benefit. So an obvious example might be physical exercise, right? It's not only great for your overall mental well-being, but also physically. It helps you feel stronger, increases your conditioning, just overall good for your physical health. So it has that added benefit. And that's kind of what we want to aim for, right? Then we have our unhealthy coping strategies. And you know what? We're all human. And these strategies can be very much successful at managing our stress. In the moment, they provide us that immediate quick relief, which is why we love to use them, right? But unfortunately, sometimes the result is often not very productive, or they can actually be even more harmful to your health overall. So the reason why we want to kind of categorize these coping strategies and be mindful of it is to maybe identify what are the coping strategies that you're using. Are they more productive? Are they more, do they improve your overall well-being overall? Some examples of some unhealthy coping might be, smoking cigarettes. Absolutely, for a lot of people in the moment, it helps reduce your stress with a very stressful situation. It might slow you down physiologically in the moment, help you get that quick release of stress. But as we all know, in the long term, smoking isn't as good for your overall physical health and well-being. So that being said, we're all human, like I had said, right? The point of identifying healthy versus unhealthy isn't to make us feel bad if we are engaging in unhealthy coping strategies, but I'd encourage you guys to maybe write a list of what are the current strategies that you draw on when you are feeling stressed and anxious. Do you go for a walk? Which again, overall benefits from going a walk is physical activity. So it's great for your physical health too. It's an added benefit. Do you online shop? Do you gamble, right? The point and the big takeaway from this is being mindful and conscious of the strategies that you're working on or that you use when you're stressed, and try and take that extra step and reflect, is the strategy that I'm using advantageous to my health overall, or do I need to fit in maybe some more healthy coping strategies? And not to say you're a bad person. We're not bad. We love our quick to easy to draw on strategies that provide us that release of stress in the moment, right? So just being mindful overall. We'll get into some specific healthier coping strategies, and this is a big one. And it might be a little harder, it might seem a little harder, especially during times like this with the heavy restrictions. But connecting with others is huge, and there's lots of benefits to it. With COVID fatigue, like Jess was explaining, you know, we might be feeling a little more irritable. We might be neglecting our self-care a little more, maybe retreating into ourselves, and maybe avoiding people because it's just taking a little too much energy. But with the so many different benefits that connecting with others gives us, I definitely challenge you guys to still pick up that phone, still maintain your relationships in whatever way you can. And we'll kind of get to that in the next slide. But social connection doesn't necessarily mean you need to be physically present with someone, right? Having a social connection is someone's subjective experience of feeling understood and connected to others, right? So relationships can provide a number of mental health benefits for us. You know, we might have an increased feeling of belonging, so reduce our feelings of isolation. We feel a sense of purpose when we connect with others. It increases our level of happiness and reduces our stress overall. And then it gives us an improved sense of self-worth and confidence. So connecting with others is very important. And then also relationships play a crucial role in protecting a person against suicidal thoughts and behaviors. So we definitely encourage you to keep connected or build new connections where you can. And so you're probably wondering, well, how do we do this when we have, you know, we're on the strictest lockdown? So we might have to get creative, right? Of course, we could stick to the basics, you know, picking up the phone, maybe texting someone, FaceTime or Zooming, as we're doing right now. You can even write a letter, right? When you open up your mailbox and you have a personal letter waiting for you, that itself is exciting, right? So go back to that way of connection and connecting with each other. I mean, winter, it might be a little harder now, but scheduling a time to have a safe visit from a distance, or exploring what other online virtual groups are being offered. And Reh-Fit is doing a great job of that right now, so connecting with others that way. Again, going back to the top, you might have to get creative, right? Maybe start an online book club, or do a virtual cooking show with friends. So definitely challenge yourself to get creative, and or keep it simple, and make sure to carve in that time to connect with either a family member or a friend, or try and build new connections. So we'll get into the next kind of strategy, which is really important for our mental health, and that's routine. At the beginning of our session, obviously Jess pointed out that the pandemic it's just so much uncertainty, right? We have to control things that we can control, and routine can help us with that. Routine provides us with structure, and when we have structure, we can plan. We know what's coming, we know what to expect, and that itself kind of reduces our anxiety and stress. It gives us a sense of purpose, right? Something to look forward to. It's essential to staying happy while staying at home. We'll say the point right on the slide there. Now, it's not to say that you need to come up with something scheduled for every hour of every day. And of course, as Jess said, some of us might have a sense of loss because we had our routines that we had before the pandemic, and the pandemic kind of threw a wrench in things. So the takeaway from this slide would be to start small. In our Coping with COVID series, we've had participants say that, the simple routine of getting up every morning at the same time and just changing out of your pajamas makes a world of a difference for how you start your day. So focus on one area. Again, you don't have to come up with a routine for every hour of every day. Focus on self-care. Maybe you do want to start a routine of connecting with someone every week, or reading a book for 20 minutes a day. You can build yourself an activity diary. Write down all the things that you want to build into your routine, and then start working around that. So routine is definitely, especially during a time of uncertainty, it is what provides us structure. So try to look for those small consistencies that you can put into your day. So we'll get into sleep, nutrition, and physical activity. These three areas, it's common to think that this is mostly just for our physical well-being, but as we've been saying for the last 20 minutes, that our mental and physical well-being are definitely connected. So we won't dive too deep into these areas, but we'll start off with sleep hygiene. Many of you, and every time we run a mental health group, sleep is a big one for people who are experiencing stressors, right? It's either, and maybe now when we've lost our routine, we're maybe sleeping more, or maybe we're so stressed about the unknowns that it's hard to get to sleep at night, or you get to sleep and then you wake up and then it's hard to get back to sleep. So, and if you're tired, then that's going to have an effect on your energy. You're gonna feel more fatigued throughout the day, maybe even more irritable when you already are because of COVID fatigue. So as you can see, if you get a nice restful sleep, that'll kind of help you better cope with the challenges ahead, right? So, and we have whole sessions on sleep hygiene. So this one slide definitely doesn't cover it all, but some basic tips to keep in mind is, again, setting a routine around sleep. Try to go to bed at the same time every night and try to get up at the same time every morning. Try to reduce those naps in the daytime. If you didn't sleep very well at night, definitely take that 20-minute refresher nap, but you don't want to be sleeping for hours because that will definitely interrupt how you sleep at night. Pay attention to your environment. After we're done this session today, take a look at your bedroom. What kind of comforter are you using? What's the temperature? Is it a comfortable temperature for you? Are you too hot, too cold? Some people have partners that snore, and I've encouraged them, if you have the ability, set up in a spare room, because your sleep is important. You do what you need to do for you, and involve your partners in the planning. Have a nice dark space too, and that balance. Find that balance. Some of us might need some lighting to find the bathroom at night. Falls risk, OT in my head. But so just reflect on what you need in your environment to get a better sleep is the takeaway from that. Some quick other tips: avoid large meals and caffeine before bed, even alcohol. I know lots of people say that alcohol helps them get to sleep, but actually the breakdown interrupts your sleep. And then physical activity is very important as well, and I'll repeat that 2 slides from now. Fitting physical activity into your day will help you get a better, more restful sleep. So we'll jump into nutrition. So Jessica and I, of course, aren't registered dietitians by background. We are occupational therapists, but we do work with a registered dietitian, and they talk a lot about the new Canada Food Guide. So we definitely encourage you guys to take a look at it. The big picture is eat meals with others. Try to make your meals from scratch if you can. Do more home cooking. Eat when you're hungry, and stop when you're full. I know it's easy when we've lost our way, or a lot of us we sit in front of the TV and eat, but that kind of distracts us and it takes us away from staying in the moment and being mindful. So something to be aware of there as well. But definitely we encourage you to take a look at the Canada Food Guide, because it is a lot different from the old kind, in case you guys haven't seen it. I think they get away from the serving sizes, but they have a bit of a plate method, as you guys can see here. A hard lesson I learned is pasta is not an entree dish on its own. Apparently it's a side dish. So, okay. And physical activity. So Reh-Fit has come out with a lot of awesome online videos. I understand that we are going into winter, and it is very slippery outside, and it gets darker earlier. So there's definitely a fall risk for walking around the block right now. But Reh-Fit has come up with these great videos. So try to fit an exercise video into the space that you have at home. Get your body moving. But every little bit counts, right? So don't feel like you have to get an hour of vigorous activity in. Do what you can for you, right? Even stretching is huge. And just try to get it into your day, even a little bit. It'll help you decrease your stress overall and sleep better. But we discourage you to do it too close to bedtime, because it does give you energy, so that might interrupt getting to sleep. And lastly, we won't dive too deep in this, but because we could have a whole hour session on setting goals. But if you follow these basic, the SMART goal format, whether it's to try and set a routine, try to fit self-care into your day, or physical activity, pick an area and start small and be specific. Be detailed about what your goal is and set yourself up for success. Don't put anything, make it realistic for yourself. If you're going from not exercising at all to exercising 7 days a week, that might be a little much. So try to build it into your day. Again, set yourself up for success. And if you fail, that's okay too. You just redevelop your goal the way it works for you. So we're nearing the end. So we'll jump into some community resources to look at. We'll immediately start off with crisis services. There are lots of different crisis phone numbers to choose from, but here's 2 based right out of Winnipeg. I definitely encourage you guys to put it into your phone, write them down and put them on your fridge. Definitely give these numbers a call if you are experiencing thoughts of suicide, but I also educate people to call these lines if you're just needing a third party to talk to. If you're up in the middle of the night and you're stressing about the pandemic and you have concerns, you can call one of these numbers and you have a clinician on the other side ready to talk you through what you're going through. And whether it be helping you through a grounding exercise or relaxation exercise, they're very helpful numbers, so definitely use them. And then I'll pass it over to Jess to talk more about some other options for you guys.
Thanks, Erin. So as Erin mentioned a couple times, the program we work for, the team we run a couple virtual now. We have one called Coping with COVID, which is essentially this presentation, but over, I think, 6 sessions that gets more into how to cope with the pandemic. And then we also have a cognitive behavioral therapy with mindfulness class. We were running at the Reh-Fit before COVID. Now we're doing it virtually. So we put the WHA Health Education Program Guide, the link here. They update that regularly with all the virtual groups happening in the health region. And if you're interested, you can just call and register for one. They're all free. I should mention that too. A couple other online resources that are really good for mental health support. One is the Canadian Mental Health Association. They do have a Winnipeg office. I think it's on Portage still. They have lots of virtual group programming, individual counseling support, peer support groups, articles, information, anything mental health related. That's a really good online resource just to explore and browse their webpage. As well as Anxiety Canada. They have lots of, I would say, more so articles, blogs about how to deal with anxiety. And then as well, they have lots of audio recording relaxation strategies that you can follow along with on their website. And then there's ADAM, the Anxiety Disorders Association in Manitoba. They specifically work with people who are living with anxiety and mood disorders and provide support to clients and their families. So they all have websites and they're all just great resources to be aware of and explore if you're wanting more information. We've talked a little bit about relaxation strategies and mindfulness. If you're someone like me who likes following audio recordings to help guide me into a nice relaxed state, these are 2 really wonderful apps that are free that you can download onto your Samsung or iPhone or tablet device. And they just have tons of audio recordings of different sort of mindfulness exercises. So deep breathing, body scans, meditation, guided imagery, you name it. They're really great. And I use them personally. We give them to clients to use. And people just find it helpful sometimes if you're just starting off with relaxation to just follow along with someone kind of guiding you through that process. So if you're interested in that, check these 2 out. You can download it on your phone or tablet device. Okay, and I think this is the last slide we have here. So really the whole point of the presentation was just to make sure that you're getting these 4 points across when you're going home now. So just make sure that you're validating your feelings, your reactions to what's going on in the pandemic. Remember that you're very resilient. Think about how you've dealt with stressful situations in past and kind of draw on those experiences moving forward. Make sure you secure your supports. Think about who you need to connect with every day. Set a goal to connect with someone if you need, and make sure you're practicing self-care. Do things that make you feel good. It's taking a hot bath, doing a deep breathing exercise, drawing, going to take your dog for a walk. Just make sure you're doing things that are important for you. And I think that's it. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
We just have one from Sarah asking if one of you could speak about the new 211 service.
You'll have to forgive me. All I know about 211 is it sounds like it's a great resource that you can call, and I believe they have a website where you kind of explain what you're looking for, what your needs are, and they do service navigation, and it sounds like they're a great resource for connecting you to other resources in the community that suits your needs and what you're looking for. Jess, I don't know if you know more about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just like a information hub, like a website that you can type in like mental health supports or like activity support, like you name it, and it will populate a bunch of options. But I don't know if they upgraded the site recently. I haven't been on it lately. I don't know if that's what Sarah is meaning, but maybe they had some new updates. I'm assuming they have a lot of updates around COVID right now and supports for COVID.
And quick inquiry from Bernice asking if you can show the clinic slide once more.
The clinic slide?
Yeah.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll wait maybe a couple more minutes to see if you have any more questions for Erin and Jessica.
Sure. While people are typing, I'll do a bit more of a spiel on the Coping with COVID series that we started running. So like Jess was saying, it is virtual. It's 6 sessions, and pretty much every strategy that we listed today that you can engage in is each its own session, about an hour session. And then we definitely, it's education, and then an opportunity for people to share kind of their experience and what they're going through, and so that you feel a little less alone through it all. It is an open group, so we have 2 sessions left. We're currently in the middle of a session. We have 2 sessions left, and it runs Mondays from 1:30 till 2:30. Our last 2 sessions are on sleep and nutrition, and then even more in depth, a whole hour session on more resources in the community, including financial resources for people who are experiencing job loss right now. So it is some great information. Our next group is running in February in the evening.
Another question in the chat from Zoe. Thank you, Zoe. Do you know of any online discussion groups about anything such as CMH, CMHA, and or mood disorders? Just sort of general discussion groups around mental health potentially?
I know that Mood Disorders Association has started to put their peer groups online. If you go to their main website page, they have a mixed group, I believe. They have a women's group, and the topic that's chosen for that group that day, it runs a specific time once a week, I believe, and it says it on their website. But anyone can join at any time, and the group topic is chosen by the participants that show up that evening or that day. And there's no need to register or anything beforehand. The link to join, you just have to show up at the time that they list on the website, and the link to join is right on the website. You just click, and then you can sign up that way. So those are definitely, Mood Disorders Association has some great support groups that way, not really topic focused. And then Canadian Mental Health Association has a variety of online workshop type opportunities. they have a whole event list on so many different topics. From one is titled "Why Am I So Tired Lately?" and then another is financial assistance programs. So very informative type options as well. So the nice thing about either of those organizations is, because sometimes their websites can be a little convoluted and hard to navigate, either emailing them or phoning them, they are so quick to respond and so detailed in their responses too, and they help you get connected with what you're looking for.
Erin, did you guys have that slide that we sent you guys about our next talk? Can you put that up for us? So before we go, I just wanted to thank Erin and Jessica for such a great presentation. I think it's great information that we need to hear, especially with what we're dealing with right now and probably for the next so many months, potentially longer. So thanks for that. We just want to highlight that our next talk is on Thursday at 7, and it's with Dr. Jonathan Fowles. He's kind of the exercises medicine guru. He's a professor out of Acadia University, quite engaging speaker. So if you have the opportunity to join in with us Thursday at 7, we encourage you to do that. And again, a huge thank you to Jessica and Erin for helping us out tonight. And thanks for everybody that joined in and asked some great questions. And I hope you have a great evening. You can see the next slide here is for next week's talk. So we have Dr. Kristen Campbell. She's going to talk about exercise and cancer. She actually worked quite closely with creating the guidelines for exercise post-cancer treatment. And I believe you guys have another one. Dr. Paul O, who is a cardiologist out of Toronto. And he's going to help walk us through 10 steps to better health. So another really great talk in the next couple weeks. So thanks for everybody, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, of course. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.